So thanks very much for having me back on. I'm going to do 10 or maybe 15 minutes on a bit of a keynote. Then we're going to get Alex and Tanya up here and have a bit of a discussion between ourselves. So I was asked to just talk a little bit about how we as MicroEnsure have gone out there into the market and reached now about 64 million customers. I didn't get a chance to just look before I came up, but it goes up quite a lot, quite often. In a country like India, we sign up about 100,000 new clients every day. Next. Okay. So I started the company in 2002. I was 29 years old. I had a lot less gray hair, and I had a lot more of it. I'm now 45, so that gives you an idea. I've been doing this now for 16 years. And the idea behind MicroEnsure was really very simple, which was that kind of low and middle income people in Africa and Asia simply didn't have access to insurance. And the effect of kind of being affected by some kind of unexpected event, like a death in the family, a medical expenditure, or some kind of natural disaster, could completely wipe them out. In fact, the company got started because I was having a conversation with this lady in Zambia, and she told me that her life was a lot like a game of snakes and ladders. And she said, I'm just trying to work my way out of poverty. And you know, every time that something bad happens, I go back to the bottom of the board. And so that gave me a great idea. I was working in the reinsurance industry as a young man, and realized that insurance was what we use in the West for, you know, for this purpose of trying to stop people falling back into poverty. And there's just a stat there. World Bank estimated that 24% of people that left hospital in India, the effect of going to hospital caused them to slip below the poverty line. So it just gives you a sense of the scale of this kind of issue. So I guess the question that left me was, why are insurance companies not insuring these people? You know, insurance companies have been active in these markets for decades, and yet if you go to these markets, more than 97% of the population doesn't have access to insurance. You know, the market is really made up of the wealthiest people in those environments, because the insurance companies are using traditional products that are sold through agents. And if you know anything about selling insurance, you know that if you get someone to sell the product, then the cost of that agent has to be borne in the premium, right? So the premium has to be high enough to justify the sales that agent's going to make. And so the cost of the agent starts to dictate the cost of the insurance product, and then that starts to dictate the complexity of the insurance product. And it just becomes this kind of cycle where it becomes impossible to have a very simple insurance product which is suitable for the mass market. So the breakthrough for us came in relation to distribution. This is really a distribution challenge. So a lot of what we're going to be talking today is about how you distribute kind of very, very low cost products. So these are products which cost between, say, 3p a month to maybe £1. That's what we're talking about here. 3p to £1 a month is the kind of products that we're selling. So, you know, MicroEnsure, we've been going for a little while. This is the only slide I'm going to show you about what we do. Kind of interesting, probably to some, is this list of investors. So here we are with people like AXA, Sanlam. Midyar Network is Pierre Midyar, who's the guy who started eBay. So it's an interesting kind of mix of people who've got involved in doing this. And the insurance companies got involved because they tried to do it by themselves, and they realized that it's really difficult to design products that are incredibly simple and sell them to people, often who have absolutely no ID and no idea of even how old they are. So I said this is about distribution. This is a distribution challenge. So the way that we've got to scale really quickly is that we've worked with mobile network operators. We've worked with mobile phone companies. And what we did was we realized that the clients themselves really don't wake up wanting to buy insurance. I mean, who here woke up this morning and thought, you know what, great, I want to buy some insurance, you know? And we're the most interested about insurance, apparently. And so, you know, these clients, they really don't wake up in the morning wanting to buy insurance. But they do wake up worrying about the risk that they face. And similarly, the mobile phone companies have a bit of a challenge, which is that they've got declining, you know, they've got declining revenue. So they measure their revenue as ARPU, so average revenue per user. So that's how much these people top up their phone. And so we were able to kind of combine these two facts to get insurance into the hands of millions of people through the mobile phone companies. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how we did that. So we took a kind of three-phase approach to the telcos. What we realized was that we needed to start with free insurance. So we had to convince the telcos that they should give away free insurance in return for increased loyalty. So I often say that I'm not competing with AIG or Allianz. I'm actually competing with apathy. You know, when you're dealing in a market where 97% of people don't have insurance, I'm not trying to steal someone else's client. I'm trying to get them to take insurance for the first time. And so that's a very, very different challenge. I don't have to have a better product. I just have to have a product that they want more than doing nothing. and that's a really big challenge. In fact, when we first started doing this free insurance, we would ask 3 basic questions. What's your name? What's your age? And what's your next of kin? And 80% of clients dropped out of the process when we asked those 3 questions. So we had to get rid of those 3 questions, and we had to start doing ageless insurance that had no exclusions, we literally didn't know who we were insuring. All we knew was their mobile phone number. And then we started to get millions of people to sign up. In fact, our fastest growing product, we signed up 20 million clients in the first 140 days on a voluntary product. So what we did was we had a business model that was created around giving away free insurance in return for increased loyalty. We would then do a kind of freemium upsell where we would call out to these people and say, okay, do you want to keep the insurance, add a family member, double your cover, you can start paying for money, paying for the coverage. And we paid for those products through airtime deduction, through mobile wallets, through all kinds of different ways. And then the third one was around kind of a retail upsell. So we'd have a call center, we'd call out to people. In many countries now, we have like a 200-seat call center. We're dialing out to people, and we're selling between 5 to 9 policies per agent per day. So I just want to give you one example. This is some work that we did with Airtel. Airtel is a big mobile network operator across Africa. We did this about 3 or 4 years ago now, over the course of 18 months. We launched in all of these countries in 18 months. The average time to market was 12 weeks. So that included from once the telco was convinced and said, yes, we want to do this, that was set up the company, get in, integrate our IT systems, hire the people, and launch the product. So we've had to get very, very slick at being able to do this. I just want to point out one thing about this, which is, do you notice that this is all about Airtel? This is all red, right? Airtel is red. And I don't know if you won't be able to see it, but this little logo here says powered by MicroEnsure, and this is the insurance company. Here it's Allianz, here it's Cornerstone, there are different insurance companies in different places. And what was really important with these products was they had to be trusted by the mass market, because these people never had insurance before. And what we came to realize was that people trust their telcos. Do you know why? It's because they use their phone every day and they top up their phone. They're buying airtime. And when they buy airtime, it just works. And there's very few things in their lives that just work like that. And so when Airtel turned around and said, if you die or if you get sick or if you need to go to hospital, we'll do something for you, they believed it. If we try and do that from the insurance company side, they've never heard of the insurance company before, they've never dealt with the insurance company before, they don't believe it. So here was a product that we launched in Ghana. It was called 3 for Free. So it was free life, accident, and hospitalization. So if you died, you got this amount of money here. If you had an accident, you got this much. And if you were hospitalized for 2 nights or more, you got this amount of money. And all you had to do in order to sign up was that you just dialed this short code. So it was like voting in the X Factor or something like that, right? You just sent an SMS to *580#, and that was you. That was enrolled. We didn't ask you any more questions. We didn't ask you any other information. And then what we did was we tracked how much you topped up your phone each month, and depending on how much you topped up, that determined how much free insurance you got. So every month we would send nudge messages saying, make one more top up, get to the next level of insurance. And we were able to move people from spending this much to kind of this much, depending on where they were. And then so that was in January. By November, we launched double cover and family cover, which was paid for kind of option. This is how we split down what we did. Basically, Airtel provided the client base and the brand. The insurance company provided the balance sheet and the regulatory approval. MicroEnsure just did just about everything else in between. So designed the product, designed the customer journey, pushed the sales, handled enrollments, did all the SMS communication, and handled the claims side of things. Oops. Okay, we missed some slides. No, actually, I hid those slides. Fine. So what we discovered from this program is that it does actually work. It moves people up from spending very little on topping up their phone to topping up quite a lot more. But we faced a number of challenges, and if people are interested in these programs, I'm very happy to kind of share more information about it. But I'm very keen to get the panelists up here and have a good discussion. So kind of when we look to the future, and maybe as a panel we can discuss some more about this, I think it's kind of really interesting what we're starting to see in this kind of microinsurance market. So there's a number of players who are doing this now. There's a number of specialists that have started to do this. And there's about 500 million people who have access to these products around the world. Swiss Re estimates that there's about 4 billion people who don't have access to insurance today. So out of that 4 billion, about 500 million have access to insurance, but then there's still 3.5 billion people. So if you're interested in getting in serving a kind of completely greenfield market, 3.5 billion people should keep you busy for a while. What we're starting to see, I think, is that this whole idea of kind of free insurance is a fantastic way of getting people onboarded and over the kind of apathy of getting involved with insurance. It's super hard trying to convince a telco to give away free insurance. The business case does work, and we've demonstrated that to the telcos, but it's a really hard sell. And so we started to ask ourselves the question, which is, if we're convinced that this is a great way of onboarding people to insurance, then why don't we pay for that? Or why don't we and the underwriter pay for that in return for a better deal on the paid for upsells? So the idea is you get them onto free, you then pay for the upsell. If we can get a better deal on the paid upsell, why don't we pay for the free? So we're starting to look at that. We're starting to realize that call centers are really, really critical. So these products don't sell themselves. You can't just put insurance on a technology platform and imagine that people are going to walk through the door and buy it, right? And this is one of the mistakes that I see time and again is people take a really great insurance product, put it on the mobile phone, and imagine people are going to suddenly come flying towards it. It just doesn't work like that. So you have to keep pushing sales, and it seems that call centers is the way to go. There's a lot more stuff around kind of how you actually get people to pay for this insurance. Mostly, we've been using kind of airtime deduction. So this is, everyone tops up their phone with airtime, and we've been able to kind of collect that 3p to £1 that these products cost by going off and kind of like just taking away small amounts of airtime from people. And then there's all sorts of issues around the regulators arguing amongst themselves about who should be controlling what aspects of these markets. But if you're interested in that, I'm very happy to talk to you.